for him, not only because of the production last year. I just don't see it repeating, but also because he's got that foundation of he is under contract. He should still be relevant. So people are going to have confidence in him. People are going to have confidence that he's going to be in the league, that he's going to be on rosters, that he's going to be productive. Take it, run with it, because the PPR, the not being able to pass catch like a lot of other guys, Randy, it's detrimental to your roster. And I know you're a proponent of that. I'm usually the guy that likes the rumbling, bumbling kind of guys. But if you have nothing to get me those extra points, not my style.
Let me tell you why you're wrong. I mean, first of all, I don't want to steal it because it was the most original take that I've heard on the Derrick Henry contract. It's RJ Bell, straight out of Vegas podcast. That's how I know it's a radio show, but he was talking about this. So Derrick Henry's franchise tag this year was $10 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they were to have franchise tagged him next year, it would have been $12 million, right? So why wouldn't they just franchise him 2 years in a row like the – so how much is that? That's $22 million. Yep. Guess what he's guaranteed over the next 2 years? 25 and a half. So they went to him and said, hey, we're going to give you a little bit more guaranteed money. And if they were to cut him after the 2021 season, they would save $9 million in 2022, and they would save $12.5 million in 2023. But here's the thing. Derrick Henry appears to be very motivated by money. And for me, if I can get him from a Jerry-type owner who doesn't feel like this is a good deal, he's only 26. If he was a used car, they'd be one of those gimmicks they slap on the windshield says low mileage, because they didn't overly use him until last year. Now, last year, they used the hell out of him. Well over like 360 total touches between the regular and postseasons. But this is a guy that is going to be a featured piece of this offense, and I welcome the addition of the little Darrington Evans. I have no problem with that. No problem at all. But he's still going to be the goal line back. He still has breakaway speed, even at his size and age. And he wants that other $24 million. Jerry, how does he insure that other $24 million? I'll tell you how. He plays his ass off the next 2 years. And if you play your ass off the next 2 years, that $12 million in cap hit in 2022 is going to feel like a bargain. So I have no problem with Derrick Henry. I'm not proactively buying, but he is the kind of guy, the stable RB2 type that can give you RB1 production, obviously. But, dude, if you could stack him behind a Josh Jacobs, who I love, if you could stack him behind an Alvin Kamara, a Dalvin Cook, especially a guy like Dalvin Cook who's got like his own contract issues and injury issues of his own, you could be having two guys that can give you RB1 weeks, but if Cook were to go down, you still got Derrick Henry. So if you can get him at RB2 prices, knowing you can get RB1 production, look at that, Jerry. I've pivoted on Derrick friggin' Henry.
Hold on. Now let me defend myself here. See, now you said a consistent RB2. Now we both damn well know that man's prices right now are not RB2 prices. If you go out selling Derrick Henry, you are not going to ask for RB2 prices, are you not?
I don't have any Derrick Henry to sell.
But you wouldn't, yes, and you damn well know you wouldn't.
Yes, I would be. I would be selling that I'm buying. I have to. I don't want to be. I'm gonna use my one swear word. So if you got the kids in the car, prepare for earmuffs. I don't want to be one of those bullshit dynasty podcasts that tell you to go get a guy and don't give you realistic reasons on how to get him. If I am trying to buy Derrick Henry, I am selling, dude, that's a 2-year contract. I'm buying a 2-year dynasty asset. I can't pay you RB1 prices. I have to pay you RB2 prices, even though I feel in my mind that like 2 years is guaranteed and I could potentially get 4 out of this guy. So for me, I think it's, and then if I'm selling, I'm like, dude, he just got it's all in your inflection and your tone. Dude, He got a 2-year contract. He's locked in for 2 years. He doesn't catch passes. He doesn't have to. He gets 16 touchdowns. Again, features tell, benefits sell. And I've got a different narrative no matter which way I'm approaching this as a Derrick Henry consumer. If I'm buying, I've got a story. If I'm selling, I've got a story.
I think it depends on the type of player you are too. if you're the type of person that sort of holds and is not a huge aggressive trader, I know you are, I know I am. And that's why I would sell him, because I'm a person that's always trying to flip everybody and just trying to profit as much as I can, and sometimes get the new hotness and fall on my face. But if you're a person that likes to just have your team and you're going to just ride it out and you just want to see how it goes, I think Derrick Henry, to your point, is a good asset to have, because he's going to be solidified in a very good role, highly productive. Like all you said, he's going to be the goal line back. He's going to get work. I just think we've seen the peak of Mr. Henry, and I like to sell at the peak. Sometimes it's scary to do that because sometimes it's not the peak, but I get it. I see what you're saying, and I'm not a huge Derrick Henry owner either. He sort of pissed me off earlier in his career, and I sold a little bit too early like a bozo, but it is what it is.
Well, you are a bozo. So before we go to these next couple of
I'm glad you cut that off.
Let's play a little would you rather, because these guys are all within a similar range in ADP. Okay, Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry?
Nick Chubb.
I would agree. Younger, very similar. The playing style, at least as long as Kareem Hunt is going to be there, his pass catching opportunities are going to be very limited.
You think Kareem Hunt's going to stay?
I think if there's like a COVID related illness or a injury in the preseason, I could see Kareem Hunt being pried away from the Cleveland Browns. I think this is a team that thinks, if you're Cleveland, let's say I'm gonna do a hypothetical. Let's say Chris Carson's hip gets re-injured in the preseason. Seattle fancies themselves a contender for a Super Bowl, which they are.
Yep.
The Cleveland's in the AFC. You reach out and say, hey, Cleveland, trade us Kareem Hunt for whatever, and they get Kareem Hunt, and then Cleveland can go out and sign a guy like Devonta Freeman off the street, just changed agents. So yes and no, but so anyway, we're sticking with would you rather, Leonard Fournette or Derrick Henry?
Come on, don't do that to me. You know damn well I'm a Leonard Fournette man. Give me all the Fournette. I just took him in the redraft charity we did for the Dynasty Wars on Patreon. I got Leonard Fournette everywhere. That's easy for me.
I like. Whoa,
okay.
I like Leonard Fournette. I like Leonard Fournette. I would feel a lot better if I knew where he was playing ball in 2021. I don't think, you ever been so drunk you thought you were going to fall off the floor?
Randy, I'm like 170 pounds. Yes, I've done that.
Well, Leonard Fournette can't fall off the floor. He's already on the worst offense in the league, or one of. So what's he going to do? Is he going to fall off the floor? What's he going to do? Wake up in 2021 and wind up in San Francisco, or wind up in Seattle, or maybe wind up on an offense that actually is good? That would be like the best case scenario. So it would be very close for me between those two. I want to hit you with one other. I'm going to hit you with two others. Okay.
Yeah.
Very similar. Josh Jacobs or Derrick Henry.
Okay. I am on Josh Jacobs. I feel like they are in similar situations, but Josh Jacobs is younger. Josh Jacobs is going to be able to do more. 26, going to be 28 by the time those 2 years of solidified contract are done for Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs is going to be like 24. So I'm going to say Josh Jacobs, but I really, something deep down, I have no analytics to defend it. Something in my gut just tells me Josh Jacobs is going to be a monster this year, that he's just going to be the guy that just goes bananas.
He is one of my personal favorites. Me, Josh Jacobs is easy. Last one, Miles Sanders and his crazy ass 109 ADP and DLF, or Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Ooh, Jerry, that's a spicy meatball. All right, man, we've spent enough time on Derrick Henry and that. Here's a good one, Mr. Big.
And listen, hold on. If anybody hates that take, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. I'll gladly defend that.
Woo, Jerry. Mr. Big Chest, a.k.a. Mr. Big Cheeks, Antonio Brown, has retired for a fourth time via Twitter. How are you feeling about this retirement?
I'm pretty sure he retired last year, so if he wants to keep bringing it up, that's fine. I do have a few shares that I've just been holding on to. I have not dropped them yet, but in due time. Something's going to happen week one or leading up, and I'm going to end up dropping them. Because I do think we've seen the end of the Antonio Brown saga. And I tip my cap to you, sir. I thank you for the championships. I have some plaques engraved because of you right next to me. You were a hell of a story, and you made our jobs so easy last year because we always had something to talk about with that dude. So I appreciate you for that. Everyone else wants to laugh at it. I do not. I appreciated it. It was wonderful. I'm bad at my job of doing this, so I enjoyed you making it easier. You helped me win. What about you, Randy? I listen, if you've played fantasy, he's helped you win at some point, or he ripped your heart out and stomped on it while they beat you with him.
It was the latter. Our good buddy Keith Bollinger, aka at FF Cable on Twitter, the game against New Orleans, I believe it was week 15 of the 2018 season, where he and Big Ben went bananas in that game against New Orleans in New Orleans. And that was enough to cause me a semifinal defeat to Mr. Bollinger, who went on to, I believe, win the league that year in the one QB GOAT league. So, oh yes, I'm familiar. I'll just say this: Twitter retirements mean nothing. I mean, if Antonio Brown were to get called out by Conor McGregor, they would both come out of Twitter retirement to make money, because that's what these guys are all about. They're about making money. I would not cut my Antonio Brown shares because of COVID. We're going to get into COVID here in just a bit, but because of COVID, I'm actually hanging on to my Antonio Brown shares. If you're a contender and your wide receiver room gets hit by COVID, who are you going to call? You're not going to call Ghostbusters. You're going to call Antonio Brown. Now, there's going to be the whole thing where he needs to be suspended and or potentially suspended because of his off-the-field shenanigans with his ex-wife and the breaking the law where he hit like a moving driver of a moving company, and it's just a weird situation. But because it's the COVID season and a team could be forced to make a move they might not make otherwise, I just hang on to him. You held on to him this long. I mean, how long have you held on to Josh Gordon?
Lots of people have held on to Josh Gordon since 2013.
Dude, five more months is not going to kill your roster. I mean, are you going to miss out on that really craptastic rookie that's probably not even going to make a roster due to COVID? So
everybody loves those guys, though. And
I say that tongue-in-cheek, laughing and joking, but if Antonio Brown lands on a roster right around your league's trade deadline, guess what you can do? So you know what I'm saying. Raheem Mostert, he ran back what he was saying. He was talking about trade me and I need some more money. And I guess he met with some of the top brass there in San Francisco, and he got out that iron, he got out the steamer, and he tried to move and remove some of those wrinkles. And it looks like everything's going to be okay there in San Fran. He's still the guy that I want. If you got him in Dynasty, he's depth probably because you kind of got lucky with him last year. Maybe you traded for him. Maybe you got him in a startup. But he's the kind of guy, kind of like a James Conner. I'm looking for him to get off to a hot start, and I'm looking to cash out in Dynasty. I like the guy. I like the talent. If I'm a contender and I need the depth, cool. I'm no problem hanging on to Mostert. But if you're like a middle-of-the-road team and you're 3-3 or 2-4 and you just need to make some moves and he's having a good season, sell him. Get out from under. What about you, Jerry? Where are you on Mostert?
Pretty much right exactly where you're at. I mean, if there is anybody that's a sell outside of Kenyon Drake for me, here's the thing. If I'm a sell Kenyon Drake kind of guy, which I am, I have to have the same MO for Raheem Mostert. He's just super late breakout. He's trying to get traded and all this. I don't know. But to everything you said, I do think he's going to be successful. I do think he's going to be the guy that you want there. I don't know how much I really want him because I think that's going to be a super headache. If I have him, super extra double excited to get rid of that man, and probably going to do it before the season starts because I really think we're going to just be in for another headache. I don't think Tevin Coleman's fallen off. I mean, Jerick McKinnon, I can't say anything about him. I mean, at some point I got to see you play, but I think Coleman's going to have a role. I think Mostert's he's going to be okay. And there's going to be a couple weeks where he's the guy you're so happy that you had and that you pounded the table for him. And then there's going to be like 8 weeks where he goes 13 for 31 and you lose.
Well, I don't think the running back week one starter of the 2021 season's on this roster. So if you own any of these these jabronis, you want to start thinking about what's my exit strategy, whether it's Mostert, Coleman, McKinnon. I know there's some hype out there on Jermichael Hasty, the rookie. Man, these guys are not worth the powder to blow them up. So if I can move them to another owner and get future draft capital, or maybe a young guy that I like, I'm all for moving these guys. And then speaking of running backs in the NFC West, Sean McVay came out on Tuesday the 21st and said that they are going to implement a running back by committee using all four. Yes. And I had to Google it. Who's the fourth man? Much like the podcast with me and Sal and Dr. Kyle. Who's the fourth person? Well, I was like, okay, we got Malcolm Brown and we got Cam Akers, and then there's Darrell Henderson. It's John Kelly.
I wasn't sure if John Kelly was still there. Remember when he was a thing? That was a fun month.
I do. I remember he was a sneaky guy in his draft class. I remember he was very highly thought of by some big names in the industry. I hope Josh Kelly in the AFC West and in the same city fares much better than John Kelly. But here's my only take on this. When a head coach, sometimes head coaches tell the truth. Think about Bruce Arians. He basically, tells you. Ron Rivera is another straight shooter. Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, he told you at the draft, I'm drafting another running back. We're going to, we want 3 running backs in this backfield. Boom. Added A.J. Dillon to Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Sometimes coaches tell you the truth. And I want to share one of the most stone cold awesome takes I've seen. It was from Brandon Marianne Lee on Twitter at Brandon Her FFB. Dude, she nailed this one. And I'm going to read her tweet. Friends, if a team doesn't have a returning, strong, veteran running back, they will be an RBBC, a running back by committee, at the beginning of the season with no preseason and little workouts. That's how they will figure it out. Plan accordingly and realize someone will rise to the top. Use that fab wisely. Now, Brandon is talking from a redraft perspective, but this is a badass take, and I absolutely love it, and I retweeted it, and I can't share this sentiment enough. Everybody who invested in guys like DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, give me Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins. These rookies are at a severe disadvantage because when you're going into the unknown, Jerry, you go with the bro you know. And who do I see McVay leaning on? Maybe a little bit more of Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson because he's seen them play live games. Maybe in Detroit, it's Kerryon Johnson, at least initially. In Indy, it's Marlon Mack. So don't get frustrated and be that owner in Dynasty that says, I knew it, these guys suck. I'll trade you Cam Akers for a bag of nickels. Don't do it. This is going to be a wild and wacky season, especially with your rookie picks. You have to remain, I guess, you got to be able to just remain calm and let it play out a little bit longer than you might normally. But what did you think about that take that I just read you, Jerry?
Imagine this community actually remaining calm, though. Yeah.
What Mike Singletary say? Can't win with them. Won't do it. Can't do it. No, they can't. They won't. There will be, if you have the DLF app or the Dynasty Trade Calculator, they have like a trade finder, thingamajobber where you can search trades in various leagues, and you will be looking at Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, maybe not Taylor or Clyde Edwards-Helaire because they were drafted so highly, but you're going to see panic selling like none other come like week 5 or 6. It's going to be phenomenal, and I'm here for it. I'm here to rob people. I'm here to pick their pocket, Jerry.
Yeah, I ain't mad at you. That's exactly why we're here. That's exactly what we should do. But here's the thing. Like Randy said, don't panic. But I've been saying that too. I've been saying that Darrell Henderson's going to have a role. Randy's been saying that Marlon Mack's going to have a role. This is nothing new. This is thinking logically, backing it up and looking down at the sandbox and trying to find, all the little toys that are hidden and not just putting your hand in the sand and trying to dig around for them, which is exactly what rookie fever does to people.
Yeah. And if you want to move some 2021 firsts, because that's going to be a wild off season. We kind of mentioned it in the open with the new Devi show. But man, if you're not feeling super confident about this 2021 class or what the buzz is going to be around it, go to that owner and be like, hey man, you want a refund on DeAndre Swift? I'll give you a first. You paid a first, I'll give you a first. You just want out, you want to move on, you want to reset the clock. Boom, done. Same thing with a lot of these guys. So don't do that. Last story, Jerry. I'm kind of torn on this one. Ronald Jones said he's quote unquote bulking up, and he's up to 200, a deuce and a quarter. He's up to 225, Jerry. That's a lot for a dude.
Hey, that's the magic number, isn't it? For Leonard Fournette.
For Leonard Fournette. If he's 226, 224, two big thumbs up. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I hear you.
I tried to get Dr. Kyle to jump on with us. He's going to jump on next week. But I want to talk about some of these guys and the risk of soft tissue injuries, hamstrings, groins, quads, calves, etc. Very nervous. And when a guy puts on weight and he's not been through his normal, because these guys are creatures of habit. We all are to a degree. And when he's not going through his normal camp, not good
right.
news. Not
Hold
good.
on. Let me get in here. Now, we talked about the Patreon, how you want to start reaching for some guys that have just, they have a chance to hit. Is Rojo just not that guy? And I know you don't like him, but I need you to think, let's say that we're wrong, because I'm also not a huge Rojo guy, but we're wrong. Let's just hypothetically think, what is the limit that he can be if we are wrong? I think Keyshawn Vaughn's going to have a role, and I don't think this is Tom Brady. He's going to be able to do some things, but he's still got Chris Godwin. He's still got Mike Evans. He's got Gronk. He's got OJ Howard. He's never going to be the focal point. So even if we are wrong, I don't think the ceiling is worth wet fart after a night of drinking. I really don't.
Gotta watch.
The risk, the juice is not worth the squeeze, and that's assuming that we're wrong. I think if there's someone that is just drinking that Rojo Kool-Aid, I just think you have to just pour that glass as high as you can and just slide it across the table right to whoever wants it.
Man, that was a sack full of analogies and cliches. I absolutely love that, Jerry. No, for me, man, no, not a good pass catcher. I don't care what we saw on Twitter with like this absolutely horrible route, and he caught it backwards and did like a 3-6. It was weird. And he's not a good pass catcher. He's not a good pass blocker. And I don't care if he fluffed up to a water weight cheeseburger-esque 225. It doesn't mean it. And again, I've said this before, and I will say it again. Tom Brady's only going to get smoked one time in that backfield before he's done. And that's when you're going to see Keyshawn Vaughn. I think Rojo may be the better runner than Vaughn, and Darway Agumbawale may be a better receiver than Vaughn. But Vaughn's a better runner than Darway and a better pass catcher than Rojo. So for me, I just no. I just brought it up because bulking stories are always good. Jerry, you want to talk about some COVID? As if you haven't heard it enough.
I have actually not. What is no. Yeah, let's talk it.
Yeah, man. So there are going to be 0 preseason games because of this. And I got this from a couple of offensive linemen, but offensive linemen seem to be pretty intelligent guys. I was listening to Jeff Schwartz in an interview and Mark Schlereth in an interview, and they were like, for offensive linemen, this is not really a big deal. So think about teams with good offensive lines, okay, like the Colts and the Cowboys, okay, that's helpful. But there is some concern with newer head coaches and new quarterbacks, and man, for me, the 0 preseason games to work out that live reps, I just feel like we're going to see some butt ugly football in the month of September.
Yeah, I could definitely see that coming. I think it's really going to hit these rookies, and it's really going to just take the steam out of everybody that was so excited for the 2020 class. But now let's talk about this offensive line thing, because believe it or not, when it comes to offensive line theory and gameplay and strategy, not an expert. So I'm going to take their advice on that. As a Colts fan, as their whole setup they have going, if they have a good offensive line, they have the same sort of coaching staff, that has to benefit guys like Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I completely agree that it does, because Even though Phillip Rivers is new in this offense, and he knows the offense, the head coach and the offensive coordinator have both worked with Phil in the past. So that makes me more than comfortable with teams like the Colts. But you just have to expect ugly football out of the gate. Now, when we get done talking a little bit more about COVID, we're going to rank the 5 teams that we have the most confidence in and the teams that we have the least confidence in to manage through COVID in this offseason. Some of the things that came out today, there was an original tweet that said 95 players had tested positive so far since March. That number's since been retracted and changed to 59. I just think you have to get past the pessimistic, oh my God, players are going to – of course they're going to test positive.
Uh-huh.
What the hell did you think was going to happen? And no one was going to test positive? I hate the NBA. I don't like basketball. I used to love basketball. I hate basketball. But the NBA is doing a great job with this right now. They had Russell Westbrook, a former MVP and arguably one of the top 5 superstars in the league, test positive. You know what? He sent out a very positive tweet. He's working through it, and he's going to rejoin his team. If the NBA, which is the most player-empowered league in the entire world, I mean, more than soccer, more than Major League Baseball, this is the entitled league. This is guys making $40 million a year guaranteed. Guys that you couldn't pick out of a photo lineup making $15 million a year. And these guys have figured it out. The NFL will figure it out. They're going to allow teams to carry 80 players to start camps. The one thing that I found interesting, Jerry, was that at least as of now, if a player tests positive, he could miss 3 weeks. Now, what does that do to your dynasty and fantasy rosters?
Other than the headache, listen, you are going to need backups. You are going to need depth. As far as just accumulating elite starters and just trying to ride that out, as it might have worked in the past. The 2020 is not going to be the year it works. So you either need to accept that this is not going to be the year it's going to work and just hold strong, and maybe into the future it can be okay, or you got to flip somebody. Like in the listener league for the Warzone, my starters are just, oh my God, Randy, my sweatpants are getting tighter as I'm thinking about it. But I had to part with one of my elite running backs because I did not have wide receiver depth. And I really, really, if we're going to play it safe, going to assume that at least one of them is going to miss some time. So I had to get some more depth. So I traded him for 2 wide receivers, just trying to do it. And I think that's going to be what we're going to have to do early and often this year. It's going to be a headache. There is going to be some poor sap out there that is going to take a screenshot and they're going to send their roster onto Twitter, and it's going to be just a barren wasteland, desert, Death Valley roster because so many people will be out with COVID, and you'll just be looking at their bench going, oh, I feel so bad for you. Right? It got to have depth, got to be prepared. You got to understand the depth chart too, because there is going to be third stringers that a lot of people have not heard of that are going to be getting some reps, and they are going to be relevant for a week or 2 or 3 or however long they end up being out. You got to be, if there was ever a year when the nerdy of the community are going to thrive, I think it's going to be this one.
For me, what I'm looking to do with this is, and I looked back in June, is when you and I started talking a lot about COVID, the potential impact on the salary cap, players that could be impacted. And I said then, and I think I really covered it more in depth on the Patreon, but for me, I'm looking to either be heavily invested in studs, elite guys. I'm talking the Nick Chubbs. I'm talking Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Julio Jones. His contract is virtually guaranteed for the next 2 years. Tyreek Hill, another guy with a great contract. George Kittle, a guy that you know is not getting cut, a guy that you know is going to get re-signed. Saquon Barkley. If it's not an elite stud, and some of these guys fit in both categories, or if it's not a guy who in 2020 is in year 3 of his rookie deal, think Nick Chubb, DJ Moore, Saquon Barkley. If you're not invested in those guys, why are those guys safe? because they're cheap labor, Jerry. They're cheap. You know, when Walmart or Amazon, when they're cutting jobs, they're not cutting the entry level, the lowest paid guys. You know why? Because they're the lowest paid guys and they're doing all the heavy lifting. And you don't fire your cheap labor. And you typically don't fire the CEO. You don't fire the elite talent at the very top. It's the middle class, man. Every time that there's financial issues in this country, who gets squeezed? The middle class. And that's where I don't want to be with my dynasty rosters. Now, normally I thrive in the NFL middle class, man. I love Cooper Kupp and T.Y. Hilton and Leonard Fournette and all these James White and all these guys. I love it. Love it to death. I love Derek Carr as my QB3, as a sneaky QB3 on the back end of my Superflex rosters. Not this year. Those are the guys that I'm going to be looking to move to contenders, unless I am a contender. I'm going to be looking to move those guys for future assets or young guys on rookie deals, class of 2019, 2018, 2020. I want to get out of that middle class unless I feel very comfortable what they're going to be and what they're going to be long-term for my dynasty roster. It just feels too much like gambling this year, because the other thing that came out is that the owners are proposing a $40 million cap hit reduction this year. Now, there are no teams currently, according to overthecap.com, with $40 million in cap space. So guess what they have to do, Jerry?
Cut.
And where do you cut? You cut those fluffy, middle, upper class NFL contracts, man. That's where the danger is. And that's my fear. Not only for this offseason, there's going to be a haircut on future salary caps. Now, they may spread it out over 3 years. They may spread it over 5 years. They could even spread it out over 10 years. That's cool. But there's going to be a wave that comes that will do long-term impact to dynasty rosters. So for me personally, as it relates to COVID, I'm just more of the give me the elite talent or give me cheap rookies, and I'm not going to be doing a whole lot in the middle. If I got them and I feel like moving them, cool. But I'm not proactively out there like I have been in the past looking to acquire that middle class. And the last thing, did you hear this BS about the players saying they didn't feel safe?
I did not. Now, you enlighten me.
Well, on Sunday, it came out, and this, of course, it's always the rich guys. Always the rich guys. Who was bitching about
listen, Carl, Mark's sitting over here. I didn't realize I was doing my podcast with Mark's over
here.
No.
Because I love capitalism. Capitalism gets 2 big thumbs up from this guy. But who's always complaining?
I hear you.
It's J.J. Watt. It's Drew Brees. It's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you mean the guys who have their guaranteed money locked up? Wealth, generational wealth? Yeah, wake me up when the guy making $550K league minimum. Wake me up when he's complaining. Because you know what that dude's doing? He's showing up. Oh, and by the way, where were you scared and fearful when Quentin Dunbar and DeAndre Baker were out robbing people at a house party in Miami, allegedly? Were you afraid then? Were you afraid in April when Dak and Zeke were hosting house parties while Texas was still locked down?
Let's be real. They're just trying to play leverage for the NFLPA so that they can win whatever court case and they can get whatever more leverage they need in that situation. Now, listen, I don't doubt that you probably don't feel safe. I mean, I'm not going out to a grocery store without a mask on. Granted, I can't. It's illegal for me to do that. And you're going to go line up next to another human being that's breathing and spitting and sweating and potentially bleeding on you. I get it. But I tend to think it's more legal, more lawyer jargon. No, I'm not a lawyer, so, maybe I'm overstepping my bounds, but that's just, I don't know about that.
Well, let me ask you a question. You ever played hoops? You ever shoot any hoops?
Oh, yeah.
Who do you think trades more sweat? Basketball players or football players? Because I tell you, those guys in the paint and the way they defend themselves, and those guys are running for 2.5 hours at a clip.
Listen, we all had the sweaty hairy back friend that we had to guard at some point, and that was never an enjoyable time. So I don't even think it's close. You're definitely swapping more basketball. You are literally touching skin to skin when you're defending them and when you're trying to get by them. So I hear you, man. It's something. This whole thing is something.
Just don't piss on my shoes and tell me it's raining. Okay? Don't tell me you're scared. You want me to tell me Russell Wilson that, oh, my wife's pregnant and I'm scared. Good. Then tell your dumbass teammates to stay home the night before a game and don't be out. Don't be out. Make sure you tell your teammates to wear a mask. Make sure you tell the knuckleheads, and every team's got them.
Oh,
Make sure you remind the knuckleheads, hey guys, keep your circle small. Hey guys, don't be out. Hey guys, don't be having house parties, Dak. You're the leader of the team. You're the quarterback. You're out having a house party. Come on.
And that's the thing is, it does have to be those leader type guys, because the guy that makes $550,000 who actually needs that money and needs to not get coronavirus, or he's potentially going to be cut. It seems like they're the ones that are the ones doing the dumb S word, and they're going to be spreading it to the other ones. And it's just, it's a bad look. Listen, the leaders do have to control it. Like Russell Wilson, listen, you are that team. Make sure, listen, I will talk to Pete Carroll. I will make sure that you do not end up on my football field if you do stupid things like that. We are living in a different world. You need to act accordingly, or you are not a professional. This is a professional game. It's something.
It's something else, man. And I get it. It's all posturing by the league. I watch the NBA go through this. I watch Major League Baseball go through this, and it's different. And you know, right now, this is what I've been telling people. You're currently, as an NFL fan, you're in the fear stage. The players are in the negotiating stage. But just like Major League Baseball, just like the NBA, and just like the UFC, golf, NASCAR, just like they're already back, there's going to be football. Calm yourself down and just understand that they have 9 billion to 10 billion reasons to get this thing done. And there's no professional athlete with a shorter earning cycle than the NFL guys. Guys, there's going to be football. I want to end this on a good note before we start ranking the teams. Jerry, you want to go positive or negative?
Let's go positive. We've been crapping on some stuff, so let's go positive.
Yeah, well, I like to end on the crapping on stuff because it's more fun. So we ranked the 5 teams. Now, this doesn't mean that they're going to make the playoffs or win the Super Bowl or going to produce fantasy goodness. It just means based on their situation, whether it be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the offensive line, the quarterback, the continuity of the team, that we felt the most confidence in. We'll keep these short. Number 5, the Indianapolis Colts, returning the 4th most offensive snaps from last year. 87.9% of the guys who took the offensive snaps last year are back this year. Yes, I know Phil Rivers is new, but as I mentioned earlier, he knows this offense. He knows the offensive coordinator. He knows the head coach. Both of those guys have been around for, I think, at least 3 years at this point. Graded the best offensive line by some ranking services out there. I debated throwing a couple other teams in there. Jerry, do you feel confident that the Colts, should they get like some corona issues or whatever, that with the continuity and a shortened preseason, do you feel confident in this team?
I do, and we sort of foreshadowed it a little bit earlier when we talked about the Colts. I think outside of if the receivers took a hit, if it was, Michael Pittman and it was T.Y. Hilton went down, then I think that would dip my confidence. But outside of the rest, I think they're really in pretty good shape, and I think that's why they're at 5 and not even a little bit higher. So no, I like it. I think that's a good spot for the Colts, and it's a well-run organization from an outsider's perspective. So it's not a surprise.
All right, number four on the teams that we feel confident will be able to handle the shortened preseason due to COVID, just based on a lot of factors. New Orleans Saints, man, 11th most returning offensive snaps from 2019. 80.6% of the offensive snaps played last year are all back on the roster this year. And I got 2 names for you, man. I got Drew Brees. I got Sean Payton. Sprinkling Alvin Kamara going into his 4th year in this offense. Go into Michael Thomas. I think it's also his 4th year going into this offense. And just a ton of confidence. Playoff team. They've been doing the Zoom meetings, but they also told their guys just to take it easy and get their work in. and they probably did the fewest Zoom meetings because they have confidence in their team. If they're confident in their team and the experience there, I feel confident that they will be able to manage COVID in a shortened preseason, Jerry.
And we could talk about Drew Brees, but what if Drew Brees goes down? Okay, Jameis steps up. As far as backups are concerned, that's a pretty damn good situation to be in. Latavius Murray's there. If Alvin Kamara goes down, there's a lot of crutches that can keep you walking in that offense. So I like that one.
I didn't bring it up, but the Colts have the same thing. If Uncle Phil were to get COVID, Jacoby, the beef brisket, would be able to step in, who didn't play half bad in his own right next year. Number 3, this one may shock some people, but for me, it's the Rams. The Rams are returning the 5th most offensive snaps from last year. 87.4% of the players who took the offensive snaps last year are coming back. And this is the 4th year of the McVay-Goff offense. Everybody talks a lot of mess about this offensive line. Jerry, do you know who threw the most pass attempts last year in the NFL?
Was it Jared Goff?
He was tied for first with Jameis Winston. They had 626 pass attempts. Do you know which team had the fewest sacks of the quarterback?
Are you setting me up for this one?
It was the Los Angeles Rams with 22 sacks given up. So a better than average offensive line, a quarterback who doesn't take a lot of sacks. 4th year of this offense. Yeah, they're adding, some new running back touches. They brought in Van Jefferson, the rookie, but I have a lot of faith in Sean McVay. He's a super intelligent guy. I know a lot of people don't love Jared Goff, but I absolutely love Jared Goff this year, and I love him in Dynasty because he's attached to Sean McVay. I feel very confident in this offense, whether it's Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I know there's been some debate about Gerald Everett or Tyler Higbee. I'm Team Higbee. I believe they brought in Bryson Hopkins to replace Gerald Everett next year in this offense. But, Jerry, I feel very confident with the Rams.
I hear you. The only question mark I would have is if something were to happen with Jared Goff.
They have.
Do you have the backup offhand? Because I don't, off the top of my head, know who it is.
I'll give you a clue. See if you can get this one. He was the starting quarterback in an AFC Championship game, I believe, 3 years ago.
Oh my God, is that Blake Bortles?
Blake Bortles is the backup for the Rams. Not great,
but it could be worse. I'll give you that. That's funny. It's messed up. I didn't even know where Blake Bortles went. But as far as the rest of that team, yeah, Darrell Henderson, Brown, all the wide receivers they have, Josh Reynolds too, throw him in there. He's shown that he can play in this league. So if he has to step up, I don't foresee why he wouldn't be able to. It's a good pick. Jared Goff's a little scary if you got to rely on Blake Bortles. But, I mean, if the dude can make an AFC Championship game with him and the children of the poor, I think it'll be all right.
Yeah, him and his old buddy Jalen Ramsey reunited, and it feels so good. All right, number 2, Buffalo Bills. They are returning the most offensive snaps this year. 95.4% of the players that took the offensive snaps last year are back this year. Same head coach, Sean McDermott, same OC. A good defense to lean on to start. This is a running team anyway. And we've already talked about how the defenses are going to be a little bit ahead of the offenses. And this is great, especially when you're a run-first team. If I have to bank on a team outside of the number 1 team, I'm going to bank on this team. I like the head coach, and I like the fact that they're returning almost 95% of the starters' snaps from last year, Jerry.
I like it. And like you said about the defenses are going to have an advantage because there's going to be lots of guys trying to figure new things out. And I don't know for certain, but I would guess defense just comes more inherent. And that defense is so mean. So I think they're going to be good. I like it too.
All right. And then the team we have the most confidence in to handle a shortened preseason.
The Detroit Lions. All right. No.
But they're not on the other list. But
Look at that.
Kansas City Chiefs returning the 7th most offensive snaps from last year. They're returning 84.5% of their offensive snaps. They're returning 10 offensive starters. And much like I did with with New Orleans, I got 2 names for you: Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you're also getting Tyreek Hill. You're also they were able to bring Sammy Watkins back year 2 for McCole Hardman. Obviously, Tyreek Hill. They brought in the rookie Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but Damian Williams is still there. I mean, a good offensive line. Not great, but a good offensive line. Man, it's hard not to go number 1 with the KC Chiefs.
True. I mean, that's what Andy Reid does, man. Andy Reid is just Andy Reid gonna Andy Reid. That's all I got.
Yep. And, people are going to say, why is it Baltimore on there? Let me see it again. Let me see the Lamar Jackson. And if we have to do this next year, I'll put them in the top 5. They were in my top 7 of these teams, along with Houston was in the mix as well. But much like I just want to see it. I'm sorry. I know people love Lamar. I like Lamar, but I don't love the returning wide receivers there. I do like Mark Andrews. He did say he was not going to opt out. Now, he is a diabetic, and that's a pre-existing condition as it relates to COVID, but he's already said that he is going to play. I just didn't feel comfortable with this offense. What new wrinkles are they going to add? That they're talking about, are they going to pass more? So without more information, I just didn't feel comfortable inside the top 5. But, Jerry, you can't have a top 5 without a bottom 5, buddy. Jerry, number 5. This one will feel generous, but like it will also feel like I'm taking a cheap shot. But I'm going to break it down. You can probably guess by the tone of my voice. It is the Cleveland Browns. They are returning the 16th most offensive snaps from last year at 77.7. And they did make upgrades, man. They did bring in Austin Hooper. They brought in Jack Conklin. They drafted left tackle Jedrick Wills. But here's the thing. Baker has shown up to like some preseason stuff, looks to be in good shape. This is his 4th head coach in 3 years. Now, there was the interim head coach in there, another new OC. There's going to be no preseason games to see what this offense looks like, how they're going to install it, what are they doing with that fullback, what's Bill Callahan bringing to the running game as the offensive line coach, how are they going to use that fullback, where are they going to put Kareem Hunt? And on top of that, man, this is a tough division. You got to play Pittsburgh twice, you got to play Baltimore twice, and the majority of the offseason free agent dollars for the Bengals were spent on defense, man. So due to the fact that it's Baker's 3rd year, it's a make-or-break year for him with a new head coach, a new OC, a tough division, only returning a middle-of-the-road starter snap percentage. I had to put him in the top 5, Jerry.
I think that's a little unfair. I get where you're coming from, but as far as not loving the Browns, I get it. But as far as things that can go detrimentally wrong because of COVID to make them that much worse, I don't think that's the case. Because if anything goes wrong with they have tons of wide receivers, they have running backs, they have tight ends, the offensive line got better. I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but I see what you're saying. And if something does happen to Baker, oh boy. And this is all assuming that this is a completely new system without preseason games. I don't know. I'm convincing myself as I'm talking that you were sort of right. Just when you initially said it, it just I don't know. I can see it. I'm not gonna argue with you a ton on it, but I don't know. I feel like there are enough offensive weapons to boost up anything that could potentially go wrong. That's what I will say.
Let me ask you a question. Couple questions.
All right.
Who was the other team besides New England to express any interest in Cam?
Was it Cleveland?
It was Cleveland. Who is paying Case Keenum, who's had NFL success, an average of $6 million a season over the next 3 years?
Cleveland.
Who has had previous success with Case Keenum in Minnesota?
Stefanski?
Correct.
But doesn't that make you a little more confident in them, though? I mean, maybe not in Baker Mayfield, but
he's the quarterback.
Well, I get it, but I'm saying if something goes wrong with him in case Keenum jumps up, the Browns will still be okay. That's sort of my argument.
Too much ambiguity, too much going on. I stand by my hot take number 1 on the season that Baker will be the least productive quarterback in the AFC North, and he will
listen, I'm not going to argue about that.
He will lead this team to the playoffs. I like the defense. I like the run-first mentality. I have questions. And in a COVID-shortened season with no preseason for these guys to work together, and how much time has he spent with Austin Hooper and Too many questions, just too many. But hey, I'm not going to go very far for number 4. Cincinnati, 22nd in offensive snaps returning from last year, only 73.7%. You got a rookie QB. You got a bad offensive head coach. I'm not sure about the OC. It's a better offensive line, but it's a raw offensive line and the same tough division. And I would dare say that Cleveland's defense is better than advertised. Again, defenses are going to get off to a hot start. And Cleveland gave up 0 300-yard passing games last year. So I don't like it for the young Cincinnati Bengals. Not to say that they won't have some moments in the middle of the end of the season. Too many questions, not good enough leadership. I got them 4, Jerry.
If I was going to have an argument, I would have to put too many of the word if in there. If Joe Burrow is good, if Joe Mixon can grow, if T. Higgins is a good guy, if AJ Green comes back, I hear you. I think this is a good spot for them. There's the chance that they're good, and that Joe Burrow's this great guy, and everybody grows, and it's wonderful. But that's just wish in one hand and crap in the other, and let me know which one fills up first.
I don't think it's a matter of if. I mean, I think it's more of a matter of when. And it's not going to be early, and I don't know when. And if Zach Taylor,
especially without preseason games,
you have no clue. You're dipping a toe into waters that you have no idea what.
Oh no! You are falling face first into those waters with what we got in 2020.
I mean, especially with given the rookie ADP of Joe Burrow and the startup ADP of Joe Mixon, it's a lot. It's a lot of unanswered questions. Number 3, the Jets. The Jets, 31st in offensive snaps returning, only 60.2%. Everything I said about Cincinnati is basically the same. I like Darnold. Can he overcome a bad head coach / offensive coordinator? Again, a new / raw offensive line. They made a ton of moves in free agency, and they drafted with a first-round pick Mekhi Becton, the tackle out of Louisville. Tough division. We just talked about how good Buffalo's defense is. Patriots have got a good defense, and I liked what Miami did last year under new head coach Brian Flores. I can't feel confident that if COVID hits this team that the goofy-eyed Adam Gase can hold this thing together, man.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to be held together even if they are healthy, so I'm with you on that one. You're hoping Denzel Mims can break out, and if he doesn't, then you just have Brashad Perriman. And how super confident are you in Brashad Perriman as your wide receiver 1? Le'Veon Bell is on the descending of that. So if something happens to him, you're just that team is devoid of lots of talent. So even in a non-COVID world, we would be talking about the lack of confidence we have in the New York Jets.
And you're probably thinking to yourself, how the hell does it get worse than the Jets and the Bengals? Well, I got news for you. Washington Redskins, number 2 team that I have the least amount of confidence in, 29th in offensive snaps returning from last year, only returning 64.2% of the players that played offensive snaps last year. I don't know what Dwayne Haskins is. I like the workout videos. I like his new offensive coordinator. I like Scott Turner. I like what he did last year in Carolina. But there's limited weapons. I mean, everybody knows Scary Terry McLaurin, Run TMC, one of my absolute favorite players in the league, and I think he's going to get a ton of volume. But they lost Kelvin Harmon. We don't know what Antonio Gandy-Golden's going to be. The tight end is some combination of Jeremy Sprinkle and undrafted free agent Thaddeus Moss. I think we all like Steven Sims. Who the hell's the running back? I think we all like Geis, but is it Bryce Love was a Heisman Trophy finalist at one time, and the ageless one, part 2, as we know the original ageless one's on the Jets, and that's Frank Gore, but Adrian Peterson's still there. They also brought in Peyton Barber and J.D. McKissick, and it's gross in Washington. Unless your name's Terry McLaurin, and I will listen to your pro and con arguments on Darius guys. Outside of that, man, this is a butt ugly roster. Although I do like the head coach, I love Ron Rivera. He is a true leader of men, and I like the offensive coordinator. But man, there is these guys are going to be trying to make chicken salad out of chicken scratch.
I don't think that was what you meant to say. I agree. For the same argument that I had for the Jets, even in a normal world, this is a roster that's just so ugly to look at. I like Darius Geis. I like the hope of Darius Geis. But at this point, that's all I'm doing is selling hope. I'm not selling results with him. So that's tough. Terry McLaurin, bless that boy's heart. You're an angel. Love you. You're going to help us out. Here's Randy Stanson. Here's to hoping Haskins can grow. But yeah, and don't forget Antonio Gibson, man. The great hype train that is. Get the fart out of here. Yeah, now let's. All right, Randy. Your least confident team, my friend.
Now, that doesn't mean that, again, same as we've been covering the whole time, doesn't mean that I don't like players on every roster. Like, I love Nick Chubb in Cleveland. I even don't hate Jarvis Landry, especially his ADP. But you know what? This next team has got one of my favorites.
Hold on. Does it have a person that wears a headband?
Huh? A headband? What about
not a headband? Not a mustache?
No. I didn't. No, man. No, I mean, he's coming back. I like the improved offensive coordinator in Jayville. It's Carolina Panthers. 32nd, dead last in offensive snaps returning from last year. They've got a new head coach in, I'm drawing a blank, the guy from Baylor, a new OC in Joe Brady, Matt Rule, a new quarterback in Teddy B. This is the first time Teddy's been going into the season starter since the Minnesota days. I think we like what Joe Rule has done. We liked what Joe Brady did in LSU. You know, he had some NFL experience there with the Saints. We love Christian McCaffrey. I love DJ Moore. But I don't have any confidence in these guys able to navigate a shortened preseason. If any team needs the preseason more than the Washingtons and the Jets and the Bengals and the Browns, it's this team. And not only do they need it, we as dynasty and fantasy players need to see it. And guess what, Jerry? We ain't going to see it. So I have heard stories that they're going to do some NFL cams to allow your local team to do like live streams of practices and stuff as a way to offset the money that they're going to lose from no preseason games, which I think will get better ratings. I would much rather
agree.
I would much rather watch I think it's Joe Bradbury, although he may have left in free agency. I would much rather see Joe Bradbury and DJ Moore going one-on-one in pass catching drills than I ever would to watch the Panthers play the whoever in a preseason game. But I like some players here. There's some nice players here, but man, my confidence level of how they're going to navigate this weird offseason does not do me well.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that they brought in Teddy Bridgewater. If they had Cam, if Cam stayed there, I think I would feel a lot better about it. I don't know. I'm just not a huge Teddy Two Gloves guy. I think if it does go bad, I don't know if I'd have them dead ass last, but I would definitely have them down here because they will always have, well, I guess not always. Assuming nothing happens to Christian McCaffrey, they will have an elite asset at least to lean on. And as much as I don't love Teddy B, I mean, DJ Moore is going to get open because DJ Moore is just, I talked about, Terry McLaurin being an angel. Your boy DJ Moore is an angel too. He's a sweetheart that just helps our fantasy teams. I wouldn't have them last, but I see where you're coming from. And it's another Cliff Kingsbury type of situation where you've got a college coach that had this explosive offense, and then he's going to get to the league and he's going to revolutionize it like, what's his name? Not Brian Kelly, Chip Kelly. Like Chip Kelly did. I got to see it. You're selling hope, not results, baby. That's sizzle, not steak.
Let me hit you with the projected over and under from this team. Now, this is according to the Action Network. They are tied for the second lowest over and under on the board at 5.5 wins. That ain't a lot. Only Jacksonville's worse, and they're tied with Washington and one other team at 5.5 wins. I feel like the under's a lock. And not only do I feel like that's a lock, but if they finish I think they drafted 8th this year. Maybe it was 10th. It was somewhere in the top 10. I feel very comfortable. Maybe it was 11th. I don't know. It was somewhere that they took the defensive tackle out of Auburn. But let's just say this team is drafting top 5 next year. Much like I've said about Gardner Minshew. That means Teddy Two Gloves would have to fade Trevor Lawrence. He would have to fade Justin Fields. and he would have to fade Trey Lance. And remember, this time last year, we didn't really have Joe Burrow on our dynasty radar.
No, we didn't at all.
What if there's a 2021 rookie class version of Joe Burrow? That would be 4 quarterbacks. What are the odds Teddy's going to dodge one of these 4 quarterbacks?
I would put it at damn near 0, if you'd like my opinion.
Because after 2021, Teddy's dead cap number is $5 million. That's the out. So if Teddy and the gang stinks it up this year, and then they draft a rookie next year, they can keep Teddy on the back end, not the back end, but they can Nick Foles the hell.
There you go.
Out of Teddy Two Gloves. So if you're investing in this guy and you're in a startup, man, I don't feel comfortable.
I don't think anybody is to give them credit, but I hear you. No, this is a short-term play for sure.
And I have to be honest. People think I don't like Baker or Gardner, but much like Gardner, I think I would rather have Gardner in a dynasty league than I would Teddy. I mean, I feel like I'm going to get 1 year. I feel like I'm going to get 1 year basically out of both of them. And even though I like the weapons a little bit better, obviously in Carolina with DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey and company, more than I like DJ Chark and Leonard Fournette. But there's just so much going on here, so much. And to get back to the COVID thing, it's going to be a lot to manage. I mean, you're already trying to learn a new job. Being a new head coach in the NFL and a new offensive coordinator in the NFL, it's hard enough as it is.
And now you're doing it in this.
And now you're doing this, no preseason. You got to do smaller groups and drills because of COVID. It just feels the opposite of a recipe for success, Jerry. But you know what's been a success? This show, man. I had a lot of fun doing this one.
Always.
Yeah, this one right here. Sometimes we have a topic, and obviously tonight we did a little ranking, stir the pot a little bit. And if you don't like Jerry and I's top 5 and bottom 5 teams as it relates to handling COVID, man, add us at DFF Memphis. At DWZ Memphis and at Jerry Sin DWZ. Maybe you're one of those people who want to advocate for the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe you didn't think Cleveland deserved to be in the top 5. Hey, man, reach out to us. And while you're reaching out, again, if you've made it this far in the podcast, thank you so much. Please hit pause, go into the show notes, check out the Patreon. You have to join, but at least check it out, see what's going on. Use that hyperlink. Same thing with Trophy Smack. Go to Trophy Smack. If you like the belts, the trophies, the stuff, man, just use that code DWZ Ring. And with the purchase of a belt or trophy, you can get a free ring up to like a $59.99 value. And don't forget to rate and review the show and get the chance to win that sweet speed green DK Metcalf autographed jersey, Jerry.
That's listen. I wrote down one of your quotes today. I will let you know that the speed green DK Metcalf jersey, it is worth the powder to blow it up.
Boom. It is worth the powder. See, Jerry's been learning all of these.
Not worth the powder to blow them up. That was a good quote. I had to write that one down.
You liked piss and vinegar the other week.
I really like that one. I've used, honestly, in the last week, I must have used that at least 6 times.
I don't know the origin of not worth the powder to blow them up, but I think it would have to go to like the South, like in the West Virginia, Kentucky area where they did some mining and they would use dynamite to blow things up. And you would use a certain amount of powder to blow a hole in a mountain or whatever. And, obviously some things would require more powder to blow them up than others. And that powder has worth. So I think that's where the origin of that is. But Jerry, we're going to shut down this live stream on YouTube. If you didn't catch it live, you can go back to YouTube and you can watch the video. Just search under live streams, and then it will be the one with the COVID confidence rankings. But Jerry and I are going to end this, and we're going to go jump into another chat, and we're going to knock out a Patreon. Jerry, you ready to talk about Patreon?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. We're going to go record that Patreon. Thank you so much for joining us this week. And on behalf of Mr. Jerry, I am Memphis. And remember, here at the Dynasty War Zone, we're just trying to make the world a better place for fantasy football. We'll see you back real soon. All right, Sunshine, I'm going to hang up this and call you on a Google Hangout.
Cool.
All right.